All everyone. Good morning. So now that you are open from singing this beautiful affirmation, there's no more room to open more deeply, right? Reverend Janice, there's always more room to open, so we're going to open you today. Besides having our Sunday celebration, we have our annual membership meeting today at 1 o'clock. We have a potluck in between, so there's some food to fill your bellies with, and we are just blessed to be together today. My name is Frankie Timmers, and I'm the spiritual director here. That's for those of you that are online and have never been present with us online, whether it's today or any time in the future. And for those of you who are here for the first time, we want you to know that you get a free book. So just grab a book off the shelf in the back and make sure that you meet some of our greeters who are giving you a little friendship packet so that you can familiarize yourself with who we are and what we're all about. So, we are still in the theme of living out loud in 2023, and for April, it's the power of vulnerability. So we continue to explore that today with the topic winter into spring, and I'm really blessed to do this with my prayer partner. It's really because of her that I'm saying. Not really, but I give her some of the credit. And my soul sister, my friend, our finance manager, our practitioner, our staff minister. She's amazing, and she's going to bless you with her beautiful gifts and talents and presence a little bit later, and a spiritual practice as well. So I'm going to talk a little bit today about this whole shift that happens almost every year in the month of April, and how it's infused with the many different holidays through many different religious traditions, and what that really means. And then I want to explore a little bit this idea of what's predictable and what isn't, what's certain and what isn't, and how can we rely more on what is most certain, which for me is this beautiful teaching. So, let me tell you first, I want to tell you that yoga has been canceled this Tuesday. Steve Garcitano, whose birthday is today, and who will be doing the music for us next Sunday, has something happening at his job, which is not a big surprise. He's always very available. So the next yoga will be April 23rd. Those of you that want to join, even if you've never done it, just join. It's so much fun. We do it on Zoom. And in May, we have, of course, Gail Belluardo's first Friday in May, which is going to be May, do we know? May 5th.
Cinco de Mayo.
Cinco de Mayo, yes. Bring margaritas. No, just kidding. And in May, for Mother's Day, we have a really special event for you. So we want mothers to come, and we want you to bring your mothers, because it's going to be a day with Armand and Angelina. They're going to do the Sunday celebration. They're so fun. And then they're doing an angelic harp and a sound bath type experience afterwards. And then Monday night, they're doing a musical comedy. And I think we can all use more laughter, right? So let's do our Namaste practice. Namaste is the Sanskrit for the divinity in me blesses the divinity in you. You see this a lot in the Eastern world of India and such, where we put our hands together and just greet someone and say Namaste. 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 And I know everybody likes to do everybody, so you don't want to leave anybody out. And let's have an opening treatment, which is our word for affirmative prayer. And I invite you to turn to that sacred, secret place within called the I Am. Capital I, capital A, capital M, which is our true name, our essential nature, as I speak from and to it. So right here, right now, I remember who, what, and whose I really am. My true home is Spirit itself. And Spirit itself then finds its true home in me, in this secret, sacred relationship. Today I deepen this relationship by declaring that there's only the oneness of all life, the oneness of heart, oneness of mind, the oneness of love and wisdom and creativity that I experience with the divine presence within me. Today, that is my commitment. Today, that is my deepening practice. Today, this is what I look for when I look out into the world of effect. I look for signs of oneness. I look for symbols of love. I look for that connection with the divine. And in it, I am blessed with every breath and every heartbeat and every activity. And I trust that this is an infinite idea in the mind of God. So it is ever expanding, ever evolving, and ever unfolding. It absorbs anything in the way and dissolves it instantly. Because today I am surrendered to that which is most real in me. Capital R-E-A-L. My spiritual nature, my essential nature. So I'm deeply grateful for this miraculous awareness and how it feeds me and transforms me. And so it is. So it is. So April is probably one of my favorite months because I really love that all these holidays come together. Passover, Easter, Holy Week, Ramadan, which ended yesterday. I have Muslim neighbors, and it was so fun to watch all the activity happening in the neighborhood. And then there is Buddha Day as well, which we're not as familiar with in the Judeo-Christian world. And then there's spring, right? All these holidays are all connected to Beltane, which is the beginning of spring, which existed before there was any religion. And then there's Earth Day, which reminds us of what is ours to do in our love for our beautiful planet, which has room for more all the time. I went to the grocery store yesterday, and one of the kids that was helping me, I call him a kid because he looked like he was in his early 20s, we started to have a conversation about Earth Day because I said, I don't want any bags. And I tend to carry things or bring my own bag. And so we started having this conversation, and he was very aware of what our generation and above has done to the planet, and what we are now doing and what we still can do to take care of it in a more loving and gentle way. And then there's today our annual meeting, which happens once a year, and I trust that you're all staying for that, and we have some more members and friends that are coming to join us when you'll hear a little bit more about our last year and what some of our plans are for the coming year. And I trust that all those of you that are on our mailing list have read all the reports and come prepared to have a discussion, ask questions, things like that. If you haven't, we'll have a few copies, but I tried to save on paper. So all of that is happening, right? And I know for myself that this whole feeling of something's happening, something big is happening, but I don't know quite what it is. I can feel it in the air. Something's changing. The earth is giving birth to so much life that we haven't seen in a few months. And then there's this awareness like, wow, many people don't even think about or wonder about whether spring will really come. Whether spring really comes after winter and not fall or summer. Isn't it interesting that we don't even question that? And to me, that is inspiration for us to be more solidly grounded in our own faith, in knowing who and what we are, in trusting that Spirit within guides the way and supports us in everything that we are. And so It's that movement from trying to be led by the world of effect, the world out here, or truly coming to know more deeply that we are led from the inside out by Spirit itself. So it's that dance of forgetting, remembering that I talk about so often. So winter is over and spring has begun, right? Would anybody disagree with that? We know this, right? It's a little weird because in my room I have a fan and I have a heater right now. The heater is on in the morning and the fan is on in the evenings. My room is upstairs under the roof and it tends to get warmer, and I don't like air conditioning if I can help it. So it's that weird transition place of movement, of ebb and flow, up and down, in and out, above, below. And that's what I think we're feeling spiritually, and it allows us to remember where we stand, to remember who we really are, to stay really grounded in the truth. I love this month's magazine, Science of Mind magazine. It's by, the daily reading is by an author that has never written the daily guides. Her name is Louise Talon. I really love her daily readings. They're so different, and I'm definitely inspired by them. But this is what she wrote yesterday. Ebb and flow is a recurrent or rhythmical pattern of coming or going or decline or regrowth. Think of tidal action or the behavior of plants. Our lives ebb and flow. Sometimes everything seems to work. We feel curious, happy. And at other times we feel stagnant, dormant, melancholy. Life seems hard. If you look back over your life, you will see this pattern. In spring, I see a yellow cloud of forsythia blooms outside my window. In summer, lush green. In fall, a riot of reds, oranges, and yellows. And in winter, bare branches against a gray sky. So too, our lives blossom, grow lush, and become bare. There is no magic answer to life. It ebbs and flows. Appreciate where you are. Ebb or flow, without judgment. We don't judge a forsythia bush for not blooming all year, or a tree for being bare in winter. I read this to you because this theme of ebb and flow will come back when we have our annual meeting. But right now, I think we just have to remember that we are vulnerable because life is uncertain. We can have some ideas what tomorrow is like, but not completely. We can have some sense of what the future looks like, but in other ways, we have no idea. We don't know, and that makes us feel more vulnerable. That's why we go to the predictability of our beautiful teaching, because that is solid. That is solidly available to each and every one of us in each and every moment. But it has to be a conscious commitment, a conscious choice, a conscious decision. That's why we want to slow down. Especially when life is challenging us, we want to slow down so that we can go back to home base where the teaching is solidly grounded underneath our feet already, is flowing through us, and is available to us to declare, to practice, to live, to experience, and to expand. I have to say, the best way to see how much you've embodied this teaching is to be around family, right? So having been around my family for 3 weeks, just about 24/7, was so awesome because I got to see how much I've grown and how much I've learned. There were a few challenging moments, which maybe at some point I'll talk about. But I noticed that I just got quiet. I zipped it. I breathed. I knew the truth. And I chose to love and accept what was happening and the relationship and my sibling and his wife. In this case, she was my sister, so they are not married. It's brother and sister-in-law, I call her. That was so fascinating, and that made me feel so happy. And I'm so proud of that, because that wasn't always the way, right? So it's saying, how much do I really believe this teaching? How much have I really embodied it? How much do I really practice it? And not to beat ourselves up, not to judge us for where we haven't yet, but to just notice and take it as information, especially when something happens that doesn't feel good. To know that that is the next round of practice and embodiment and learning. Ernest Holmes says, we should come then to this great reservoir of nature, to this infinite side of ourselves, in full and simple trust, in confidence and faith. If there's anything I know today, is that you are a miracle. Your life is miraculous. Notice that little voice inside that says, yeah, in a pig's eye. That notice that part of you says, well, yeah, maybe here, but not there. Just notice that place, because that's the place where you and I get to remember that life is miraculous and that you and I are walking miracles. And that the more we claim that and the more we believe that, the more that shows up in our lives. It's where we deny that we struggle. Have you noticed that? Yeah. So it's really saying, let me go back to the foundation of what I love about this teaching, of what I believe about it, of why I'm here today, why I keep coming back, why I take classes, why I go to a practitioner. And by the way, let me remind you that we have 3 amazing practitioners, that CSL, Centers for Spiritual Living, has thousands of licensed practitioners that you can reach out to when you're struggling. I'm always blown away how few people take advantage of our practitioners and practitioners in general. I'm blown away that when I ask someone that's struggling, have you called a practitioner, how often they say no, which is 90%. I love that there are practitioners, and I reach out to them all the time. Here's one, right? And so we practice reaching out when we get stuck, to have that support for somebody that is even more grounded in that moment than you may be. So what is certain then? We say, well, there's no certainty. Anything can change at any moment. For me, this teaching is certain. For me, spirit in me is certain. For me, my faith is certain, and when it isn't, I know what to do. And so what we arrive at is this idea that life out here may be uncertain. The human journey may be uncertain, but who you are as a spiritual being has a certainty to it that you can completely trust and rely on. It's available all the time. It never fails us. And so how do we arrive at a more certain place then? How do we work with that? Well, the first thing is we explore our own faith. What do I believe? What is it that I believe? And where do I believe in these truth principles that have existed since the beginning of time? Yeah, they weren't called science of mind, but it's ancient wisdom. This is not a new teaching. It's just packaged in a way that's more contemporary, right? So what do I believe? And what would I love to believe more of? And how can I claim that? Who can support me in that? Practitioners, classes, right? The second thing is to live what you already know. I know when I'm on the turnpike and someone cuts me off that I'm cursing, showing my finger, or I'm just whatever. I know how I react. That's telling, right? My reaction is telling. What does it tell? I'm not here to tell you. I'm here to tell me. And then I can make a decision about that. Traveling in New Jersey has been definitely a spiritual practice for me. And I'm so happy that I can now be a lot more peaceful and less reactive because it's just information, right? So we can do that with all life, whether you're getting a phone call from the IRS or police is behind you with sirens, or you have a fallout with somebody you work with or in your family. All these little things that stir us up can become grist for the mill to deepen our sense of faith and living what we know. The third one is serve. There has to be circulation happening in our lives. Because if there's no circulation, you'll back up. You know that with your digestive life, right? So the idea of circulation is knowing that as I give, I receive. As I receive, I give. And that's in every area of our life. Relationships, work, career, health. Everything is action, reaction, always. And so the idea then is, how can I fill up on this beautiful wisdom, and how can I give back? Can it be to my community? Can I maybe volunteer? Can I maybe be more generous? Can I maybe serve in a new, different way? And we will ask you to serve in a new and different way during the annual meeting. But it's for us to kind of say, if I'm stuck somewhere, what is not circulating in me that needs to circulate? And we start with being prayerful. And so this is like the idea of circulate or hoard, right? When I'm afraid to spend my money or to give of my good, then I'm withholding, which means that I'm believing in lack more than in abundance. And that's a whole other talk that I will definitely give sometime in the near future. So who are we becoming then as a spiritual community? It's already visible. It's already shows. It's you showing up. It's you participating. That's who we are, and that's who we are becoming. So we get to all do our part, not from a place of shaming, judgment, criticizing, believing there isn't enough, but from a place of fullness and miraculousness and gratitude and blessedness. So now we're going to sing, because when we sing our affirmations, something happens, right? So we're going to sing about what it is that you're ready to let go of. When we let go of something that doesn't serve us, we make room for something greater. So I invite you to sing along. And then after that, Reverend Janice will bless us with her wisdom and her practice.
What no longer serves me, I release and I let go. I release what no longer serves me, I release and I let go. I release what no longer serves me, I release and I let go. I release what no longer serves me, I release and I let go. I release what no longer serves me, I release and I let go. I release what no longer serves me, I release and I let go. I release what no longer serves me, I release and I let go. I release what no longer serves me, I release and I let go. I release, 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 I let
me to stand here and look out on the miracle that is each one of you. And it's always a privilege for me to hear the wisdom of my beloved teacher, sister, Dr. Frankie, who has given you so many things to not just think about, but to take into your heart and to begin to embody in new and higher ways. Because in every moment, the way she started her service, we are always open to new and higher ways. So I am going to hyper-focus on one of the aspects that she talked about. That was, I think, at the center and the core of everything that she shared with you today. And to me, it is really one of the greatest spiritual gifts that we are imbued with. And I think of it as a spiritual gift. And that's faith. And faith may be a charged word for us. So I am, again, hyper-focusing on the way we understand faith in the science of mind teaching. Therefore, we're going through the big book. This is our big book, okay? So in the big book, in the back, in the glossary, where Ernest Holmes gives our spiritual understanding of words that may have had other contextual understanding to us, and he describes faith. He starts it with the line from Scripture, the line from Hebrews, that you maybe are very familiar with. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Now, I remember learning that in catechism class. But the way we understand it as science of mind students, when Ernest Holmes talks about substance, he's talking about undifferentiated substance, the entire potential of spirit, because it is the evidence of things not seen. What we don't see, that truth, that potential of spirit within us. He goes on to say, faith is a mental attitude, so inwardly embodied that the mind can no longer deny it. What is our mind usually focused on? Negative. Negative or positive, it's focused on what is outside of us, what we can see, what is already a circumstance or a situation. And he's inviting us to know that that is that which is unseen, which we don't yet have in manifestation. And when we put our faith in that, we are opening the space for the undifferentiated substance, which we may not know what it will be, as Dr. Frankie so beautifully said, and therefore we have to be in that place of surrender and vulnerability to allow it to come through us. He also goes on to say, in spiritual terminology, faith means a belief in the presence of an invisible principle and law which directly and specifically responds to us. A law that responds to us. So lack of faith may be a matter of learning more of the spiritual laws and how they operate. So we are given such a gift in the science of mind teaching, the gift of spiritual mind treatment. And the first two steps of spiritual mind treatment to me is what I practice living in as much as I can remember. And Dr. Frankie so beautifully said, we forget, we remember, we forget, we remember. And that's what helps me remember. And if you just do those two steps, if you've never taken a class and you don't know treatment yet, the first step of treatment, that God is all there is, the absolute power and presence of love. Can that power and presence of love be diminished if there are people doing unloving things in the world? Never. If we put our attention on the unloving things that are happening, what are we going to manifest more of? Right. We get to look at where are we being unloving in our life. If we go back and center ourselves in the power and presence of love, that undifferentiated substance of love that can never be, just like the innate spirit in us, hurt or harmed in any way, then that is what we are unifying in the second step of treatment, right? Okay. So I really believe that we don't need more faith. People say, I don't have enough faith. We are given it as a spiritual gift. We have all the faith we're ever going to need. The question is, where are you investing your faith? Are you investing your faith in the circumstances that are already manifest? Are you investing your faith in the past, in your story? Are you arguing with limitation in your life and investing your faith in limitation? That's the question to ask. Not more faith. Where am I investing my faith? Because we were taught by the master teacher Jesus that we only need how much faith? The size of a mustard seed. Okay? A mustard seed. Can you even see the mustard seed from where you're sitting? Faith the size of a mustard seed. I turn back to the textbook once again. How many people know that in the textbook there's a section about this big on the teachings of Jesus in the New Testament? Those who study science might know this, so here it is. The kingdom of heaven is like a grain of a mustard seed. From a knowledge of mental action, we know that a constructive idea planted or buried in the subjective mind tends to grow into a real condition. Jesus could not have chosen a more comprehensive way to illustrate this point. You only need to start with faith, with the idea of a mustard seed that small, because all you need is the willingness to believe in the truth, the willingness to see beyond effect. Because everything in your life is a correlation to where you've invested your faith before. So when you are willing to invest your faith in the truth of who you are, then that is what moves from undifferentiated substance into the substance of your life. If you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you will say to the mountain, move from here to there. And what happens? The mountain moves. Now the mountain in spiritual symbology means an exalted idea. So if you have the faith of a mustard seed, you are telling the higher idea to move from there to there. You are moving out of the way any mountains of doubt or uncertainty or limitation or lack. Faith is a seed. You're burying that seed in your subjective mind, and that seed is what becomes this exalted idea that you're planting in your subconscious. Now, here's something you might not know about mustard seeds, and Jesus used it intentionally because they were very common back in the Middle East when you walked down the earth. But the mustard seed grows very rapidly and quickly and takes over anything else that's grown in its path. This is what a mustard seed does. So he used this analogy specifically. So if you're planting a higher idea in your mind, and you have the willingness to believe and have faith in that idea, it will spread and take over anything that was there before, any smaller ideas, any smaller thoughts. And the exalted idea is what you will experience. And it's the same way that Mother Nature works, right? If we just look out and we see the bare trees, and that's what we're focused on, but Mother Nature, the truth overrides that and blossoms forth with the glorious spring that we have every single year. And the same thing happens when we plant the seed in our subjective mind. If we don't meddle with it, if we don't try to fix the conditions because it's not changed yet, it doesn't mean we don't take action when we have inspired action to take. But the idea is that we plant the seed like any good gardener knows, and you nurture it, right? Eileen's shaking her head. She's a wonderful gardener, loves the earth. You nurture it, you water it. So we plant the seed and we nurture it. What do we nurture it with? Our spiritual practices. We nurture it with love. We nurture it with service. We nurture it with that which we already know. But we don't dig it up and see if it's working. We don't try to, go out there and fix things and make them work to the way we think they're going to work, because there's a higher idea of how that's going to unfold in your life. So where are you planting your seeds? That's really the question today. And can you make the choice today to plant the seed in your subjective mind that is the higher idea of God and nurture with your spiritual practices? We're going to do one of those spiritual practices right now. A little bit more fun spiritual practice. So we have a song. And this song is called Spirit Goes Before Me. It's again a call and response. I'm going to pass this around, and I'm going to ask you to take 2 mustard seeds. Now, you can take more than that. They're small. You might not be able to just get 2. But we're using 2 for the practice that we're going to do. Okay? And then we're going to come back and do this in the practice. So you can sing along, too. So take
Spirit goes before me, leading the way, leading the way. Spirit goes before me, Spirit goes before me, and all is peace, and all is peace. Spirit goes before me, Spirit goes before me, leading the way. Leading the way, leading the way. Spirit goes before me, Spirit goes before me, and all is peace, and all is peace. Spirit goes before me, Spirit goes before me, leading the way, leading the way, leading the way, leading the way. Spirit goes before me, Spirit goes before me, and all is joy, and all is joy. Spirit goes before me, Spirit goes before me, leading the way, leading the way, leading the way, leading the way. Spirit goes before me, Spirit goes before me, and all is joy, and all is joy. Spirit goes before me, Spirit goes before me, leading the way, leading the way, leading the way, leading the way. Spirit goes before me, Spirit goes before me, and all.
So Dr. Frankie and I talked a little bit about how we were coordinating today, so I told her I had this idea of doing something with the mustard seed. So she sent me this meme, which she said we've used here before, but it's my favorite meme on earth now. Step back! I have a mustard seed and I'm not afraid to use it! Are we afraid to use our mustard seed? No! Alright, so I'm going to invite you to take 1 mustard seed in your left hand, 1 mustard seed in your right hand. The mustard seed in your left hand represents your life. So I want you to think about an area of your life where you may feel like you're in the ebb and you're ready to move into the flow. Without judgment. We don't judge the ebb and the flow. You may be in the winter and you're ready to move into the spring. You might be in the darkness, you're ready to move into the light. You're in the silence, you're ready to move into the song. And just allow yourself now to think of what the exalted idea held in the mind of God is in that area of your life, not the details. If you're experiencing physical conditions, the exalted idea is wholeness. If you're experiencing tension in relationships, the exalted idea is love. If you're experiencing grief or sadness, the exalted idea is comfort and strength. What is the exalted idea held in the mind of God? If you're experiencing lack, the exalted idea is abundance, and the mustard seed grows in that way. So imagine that you are planting this mustard seed into the subjective soil, the fertile soil in your mind. And you plant it. And you imagine it growing quickly, easily, lusciously. It is the mountain of the highest idea. And it just dissolves anything that's in its way. Take a deep breath. Repeat after me. Faith sets me free.
Faith sets me free.
To experience God's highest ideas for me.
To experience God's highest ideas for me.
Now, the mustard seed in your right hand represents our spiritual center, our community, where we come to embody this truth, allow it to integrate so deeply in our lives that our lives are changed and we bring these gifts to the world. But as you imagine this center, imagine any area that is ready to move into greater life, that is ready to move into the spring, that is ready to move into the flow. Anything that you are ready to experience, or anywhere where you are ready to give any gifts and talents that you have in your soul. So we know together that any time, any place we feel any limitation at all moves out of that winter into the spring, out of the ebb into the flow, into abundance, that we have everything we need, more than enough, to serve, to give. Anything else in this center that we can open up for even greater love, greater connection, greater unity, greater service to the greater community. Imagine that we are planting that seed in the collective subjective mind of those connected to the center and beyond. And that it is taking root and growing in the greatest way as the exalted idea for the center. Take a breath and repeat after me. Faith sets us free.
Faith sets us free.
To experience God's highest ideas for our spiritual community.
To experience God's greatest idea for our spiritual community.
So I invite you to hold on to these seeds, and if you look out at life and the conditions don't seem to have changed yet, whether it's in your life, the life of this community, or in the world, I want you to remember to say, I have a mustard seed, and I'm not afraid to use it. Say it to your own thoughts too, and follow it up with spiritual mind treatment. And if you don't know spiritual mind treatment, call a practitioner and let them treat with you. And now let's do spiritual mind treatment together. Oh. And so we are grounded in faith. Not a faith in God, the faith of God. The faith of the absolute that knows that this constant flow continues to inform us, continues to allow us to experience all that God is, allows the world to experience all that God is. And we allow ourselves to be taken into the divine flow of this truth, recognizing that as we move in this flow, there will be ebbs, there will be flows, there will be winter, there will be spring, but always, 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 the light is there. The light is shining within us. The light is shining all around us, just as the sun is shining behind a dark cloud. We do not keep our attention in the storm. We keep our attention on the divine substance of spirit that created us and is creating every moment of our being. So I know for each one here that the love that created us is what is manifesting as our experience in life, in our families, with our friends, in our communities, in our center. That the abundance of all that God is manifesting in our lives in every way, in higher ways than we ever even knew before. And that anything unlike love, we are able to open our hearts and release and surrender and allow it to be transformed and transmuted into a greater understanding of what love actually is in the mind of God. So I know that we are all blessed And anytime we might feel fear, anytime we might feel doubt, anytime we might feel uncertainty, we have the tools. We know. We know that we are not afraid to use this teaching. We're not afraid to turn to this teaching. We're not afraid to speak it, to live it, to act it out, and to live it out loud. And I'm so grateful that this truth is this truth, and that each one of us is living it even deeper in every area of our lives. And every single moment, this exalted idea lives through us and as us. And I release this word now to the Lord, that takes it and returns it full as the beauty that we see all around us and the beauty that we see in each other. And for this and so much more, I thank you, God, as it is.
So it is.
Now it is our time of divine circulation. It's a time where we open our hearts to the idea of giving. And as Dr. Frankie so beautifully talked about, it is one of the pillars of practicing our faith in this truth, to allow ourselves to be part of that circulation. We don't want to keep this truth in us, right? We want to live it. We want to bring it out to the world. And part of the truth is this idea that Spirit provides. And so we are a spiritual community that belongs to each one of us. So we have gifts and talents, whether they are our time, our talent, and our treasure, that the more we give, the more we have to give. You all know that. I tend to, as much as I give in so many ways, I tend to also hold on to things, and Dr. Frankie knows this and has treated for me to help me to clean out my basement. And I honestly, each time I decide to take on one area of my basement after I get a really good treatment, all right, I'm gonna do this, I clean out that area of my basement, and literally something amazing flows into my life. And I'm not gonna do my basement. It just opens the space. And so I believe this completely, and believe me, I don't like to do that kind of stuff, you know? And there's things in my life I've held on to too. Relationships that are way past their expiration date, anybody? So I really learned to be able, that when I let go, there's room for more. So when I give, even when I think I'm too tired, and somebody needs me, and they call me, and it's like, oh, I have such a busy day, I know that that's happening for me to go beyond, to call forth that which is within me. Let Spirit come through. And I have the most amazing experience, because it's not even coming from anything that's depleted in me, because Spirit can never be depleted. So I ask you to open your hearts and minds to that, to give. We're going to talk about it at the annual meeting, to give of your time, your talent, and your treasure. There are many ways to give. You can actually give real money, checks. There's envelopes in the back. You can text to give. You can give on our website, PayPal, Venmo, Zelle. There's just so many ways to give now. There's no excuse.
Right.
And so let's just know together, divine love consecrates and blesses all of our gifts and allows them to flourish and bless our community and beyond. Again, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful to each one of you for making this community what it is, because it wouldn't be what it is without it. So, thank you. And I think we're complete. And it's time to open up to celebrate. That's something we talked about, Frankie and I, that this is a celebration of spring. A lot of holidays we celebrate. We're going to celebrate our membership. So let's celebrate together. Celebrate all.
And there's coffee and goodies. So enjoy our social hour.
There are nights so cold, you're just praying for the light. There are times when you think that there's no going on. You're convinced that you're not that strong. You're just